The Taliban says it is planning an inclusive caretaker government in Afghanistan after the group toppled the Western-backed administration in a stunning sweep earlier this month. Taliban sources told an Arab media outlet that the caretaker government will include leaders from all ethnicities and tribal backgrounds in the country. Almost 2 decades after the US started its war on terror, driving the Taliban out of power, life is back to square one for millions of Afghans. Welcome to the Sunday Scaries, and today we'll be talking about Afghanistan, its timeline, Taliban, and America. But first things first, please do consider subscribing to the channel and click the bell icon so you get notified whenever we upload our next video. On September 11, 2001, al-Qaeda carried out attacks on the World Trade Center in what was the deadliest terrorist attack in American history. While al-Qaeda leader Osama Bin Laden was identified as the one responsible, the Taliban refused to hand him over, who was in Afghanistan at the time. On October 7, US launched airstrikes against Afghanistan in retaliation. Some 1,300 US troops arrived in Afghanistan in November, and by December, the Taliban was removed from power and its fighters melted away into Pakistan. Between 2001 and 2009, the number of US troops in Afghanistan topped 67,000. In 2009, US President Barack Obama announced a troop surge, and the number of American soldiers in Afghanistan increased to over 100,000. Osama Bin Laden was killed in a US Special Operations raid in Abbottabad, Pakistan in May 2011, and a month later, Obama announced a withdrawal plan from Afghanistan. In 2013, at least 3 key figures of the Pakistani Taliban, including the then leader Hakimullah Masood, were killed in US drone strikes. By 2015, US troops in Afghanistan declined to about 9,800. But in August 2017, US President Donald Trump deployed additional troops, increasing the total number to around 14,000. A year later, in September 2018, he appointed veteran Afghan-American diplomat Zalmay Khalilzad to negotiate with the Taliban. The Taliban gradually regained and then extended their influence in Afghanistan over the years. On September 9, 2019, after a particularly intense escalation in Taliban attacks, including a Kabul bombing that killed a US soldier, Trump scrapped talks. The US and the Taliban signed a peace deal in Doha, Qatar on February 29, 2020. Senior members of the Afghan government and countries surrounding Afghanistan were concerned that the US could abandon Kabul, much like it was perceived to have left the region after the Soviet Union exited Afghanistan decades ago. The American focus was on getting their troops and diplomats out of Afghanistan safely. In the deal, the US agreed to withdraw its troops by May 1, 2021, in return for assurances from the Taliban that they would not let transnational terrorist groups operate from Afghan soil. The accord also came amid a fragile political situation in Afghanistan. The Ashraf Ghani administration was internally divided, and the last 2 presidential elections, 2014 and 19, were disputed. Well before the American withdrawal started, the Ghani administration looked more like a loose confederation of different fiefdoms. What glued them all together was the American troops. Once it was clear that the Americans were leaving, the cracks in the administration started widening. On April 14, President Joe Biden announced the US troops' withdrawal from Afghanistan starting on May 1 and ending on September 11, bringing America's longest war to a close. Biden withdrew not just American air support, but also the intelligence agents and contractors who were serving Afghanistan's warplanes and helicopters. The Taliban launched their offensive on May 1. The Taliban's strategy was to take the rural districts first and then lay siege to the cities, allowing them to fall. By August 15, after taking the key eastern city of Jalalabad and with several important cities under their control, the Taliban encircled Kabul. Ashraf Ghani left the presidential palace and flew out of the capital. By nightfall, the Taliban were in the presidential palace. And just like that, the people of Afghanistan were back to square one. Currently, the duration of the caretaker government is unclear. Afghanistan's ethnic diversity has been at the center of politics and conflict in the country, with no single ethnic group enjoying a decisive majority in the country of 40 million people. The Pashtuns are Afghanistan's biggest ethnic group, making up more than 42% of the population. The predominantly Sunni Muslim community speaks the Pashto language and has dominated Afghan politics since the 18th century. Taliban sources also told the caretaker government will have an Amir al-Mu'mineen, commander of the faithful, to lead the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. They said a Supreme Leadership Council has been convened to decide the form of the future government and nominate ministers. Key ministries up for nominations include the Judiciary, Internal Security, Defense, Foreign Affairs, Finance, Information, and a special assignment for Kabul's affairs. Taliban co-founder Mullah Baradar is in the capital Kabul, while Mullah Muhammad Yaqub, son of Taliban founder Mullah Omar, has traveled from Kandahar for the initial consultations on government formation, the sources said. They added that the group wants to bring new faces into the government, including the sons of Tajik and Uzbek tribal leaders. They said the US has been insisting on bringing in some members of the older governments, including former President Hamid Karzai and former head of Afghanistan's High Council for National Reconciliation, Abdullah Abdullah. The details about the formation of the caretaker government in Afghanistan came as a war-torn country is reeling from deadly attacks outside Kabul airport on August 27. The twin attacks claimed by ISIS offshoot in Afghanistan, the Islamic State in Khorasan province or ISIS-K, killed at least 175 people, including 28 Taliban members and 13 US troops. Another Taliban source said that the group remains committed to the 2020 peace deal it signed with the US, including not letting Afghan soil to be used to launch terror attacks. The source said it was unfair that the focus is on a few thousand people at the airport, and that millions of Afghans enjoying security in Kabul are being ignored. On women's rights, the source said women will be allowed to work in various government bodies as they did in the previous government, mainly in the health and education sectors. The source also said special courts will be set up at local levels to fight corruption and make examples of corrupt officials. The Taliban source said efforts are underway to remove barricades and unnecessary roadblocks in the cities, and that its forces at checkpoints have been asked to be polite and courteous. The Taliban caretaker government is planning a single tariff to be applicable for bringing goods into the country, from the point of entry to destination. No one really knows where Afghanistan is heading. Maybe to peaceful times, or maybe more bloodshed is waiting there. But for now, we can only hope that the people of Afghanistan can live peacefully and independent, regardless of their religion, caste, or sect. That's all for now, but we'll update you when anything happens. Please do subscribe to the channel if you liked the video and found it informative. And don't forget to click the bell icon. Your valuable suggestions are very important to us, so do post them in the comment section. And I'll see you in the next video.